Good day, everyone. Welcome to our online class in Introduction to the Philosophy of the Human Person. I'm your teacher, Mrs. Lovely Jimenez Supan. Our lesson for today is all about methods of philosophizing. For the most important learning competency in this session, you're going to distinguish opinion from truth. And for the specific objective, you are going to explore some of the methods of philosophizing that philosophers employed. To begin with our lesson, I want you to do this comic strip activity. You're going to analyze the comic strip and answer the following questions. Do you agree with the reasoning of the person inside the car? Why or why not? If you are the biker, how would you react to the remarks of the person inside the car? Now, let us analyze the comic strip. The first picture. Nakakabuti sa kalikasan ang pagko-commute gamit bisikleta. Second picture. Laka lang pambili kotse. Third picture. The driver suddenly overtake the biker. And the last picture, the police officer stopped the driver due of some violation. Now, do you agree with the reasoning of the person inside the car? Why or why not? If you are the biker, how would you react to the remarks of the person inside the car? Truth is one of the significant lessons in philosophy. It has been a topic of discussion in its own right for many years. Moreover, its value and influence to man's life cannot be denied. Philosophers generally believe that reason is the road to wisdom. However, they have different interpretations of what reason consists of, and some philosophers even challenge the preeminence of reason in the pursuit of wisdom. Here, we're going to explore some of the methods of philosophizing that philosophers employ. According to Wolver 2006, think of wisdom as the summit of the mountain with different paths to get there. We're going to study the different paths to wisdom the philosophers offer. The first one is the dialectic method. This method of philosophizing was conceived by the Greek philosopher Socrates, born 470 before Christ era, one of the great philosophers of the ancient world. Unfortunately, he did not leave any written words, and everything people know about him came from the dialogues written by his famous student Plato. To find truth using dialectic, it is based a discourse between two or more people holding different points of view about a subject but wishing to establish the truth through reasoned methods of argumentation. In real-life application, dialectic resembles debate, but the concept excludes subjective elements such as emotional appeal and the modern prerogative sense of rhetoric, finding truth between two opposing arguments. This method is very useful when you are finding the truth between two opposing ideas. The Socratic method was modernized and treated in a different way by Georg Wilhelm Hegel, a German philosopher. Hegel was an idealist. He believed that the ideas of the human minds have access of what the world is like. He also believed that the spirit is constantly changing and evolving. According to him, the spirit changes through dialectic. First, there is an idea about the world, much like a thesis, which has a natural characteristics of having errors which give rise to the antithesis. The thesis and antithesis can be eventually resolved by creating a synthesis, which is a new idea comprised of the essentials of both the thesis and the antithesis. To Hegel, society and culture follow this design, and one could understand of all the human history without the use of logic or empirical data simply by using logic. Second is the pragmatic method. Hundreds of years after the death of Socrates, a new philosophy emerged as inspired by the idea of change initiated by the evolutionary thoughts of Hegel and Darwin in 19th century America. This philosophy became known as pragmatism. It was started by Charles S. Peirce, popularized by William James, and institutionalized in American culture by John Dewey. It offers solve real-life problems. It is purely a philosophy of method and not of substance. What pragmatism aims is to test the dogma of science, religion, and philosophy by determining their practical results. The pragmatic test is, if I practice this belief, will it bring success or failure? Will I solve problems or create problems? According to Stump 2008, successful experience is the verification process of truth for the pragmatist. To apply this method in real-life situation, for example, nobody ever decided that bear would mean a furry creature with teeth. Over time, people found that syllable was useful for pointing out the dangerous creature, and this helped them survive and thrive. The same is true for important theoretical concepts like power, freedom, or truth. For pragmatism, there is no essential meaning to any of these terms. The terms are just tools that human beings use to go about their lives and accomplish their goals. The third one is the phenomenological method. It was conceived by Edmund Husserl, born in 1859, one of the greatest intellects of the 19th century. His ideas and method influenced the thoughts of some of the 19th century philosophical giants like Martin Heidegger, Jean-Paul Sartre, and Maurice Merleau-Ponty, among others. To find the truth using this method, the phenomenologist needs to reflect on his or her own pre-understandings, frameworks, and biases regarding the psychological, political, and ideological motivation and the nature of the question. This is a search for genuine openness to engage in a conversational relation with the phenomenon. These are some real-life applications. Example, exploring the life experiences of women undergoing breast biopsy or the life experiences of family members waiting for a loved one undergoing major surgery. Another example is studying the green flash that sometimes happens just after sunset or just before sunrise. Another, how to gather knowledge that respects the human life world. And of course, the question, how to live. In short, this method can be used in finding truth in every event and happenings in one's daily life. The fourth one is the primary and secondary reflection. Its main proponent is no other than Gabriel Marcel. He was a philosopher, a drama critic, and a playwright and musician. He converted to Catholicism in 1929, and his philosophy was later described as Christian. According to him, reflection is not just a disinterested look at experience. It emerges when something valuable is at stake. To provide a rough and inaccurate summary, primary reflection is the initial attempt to mentally apprehend an external reality as something foreign and separate, whereas secondary reflection is considered the subject as part of the larger whole within which the observer and the observed are neither separate. As what I have said before, the type of philosophical reflection which trains the mind to think logically, and it is also the ability of the mind to construct and evaluate arguments, is primary reflection. While, according to Gabriel Marcel, the type of reflection that enables us to look deeper into our experiences and see the bigger picture of reality is none other than secondary reflection. Now, let's take a look to this example by Marcel. Suppose you try to take a watch from your pocket. To your surprise, the watch that you expect to be there is not there. A break from your ordinary routine happened. From this break, reflection appears in the form of a question. Where is my watch? Then, a host of questions connected to the first one followed. Where was the last time I've seen my watch? Was there a hole in my pocket? You try to retrace your steps from this moment back to the time when you last saw your watch. You are doing reflection. The last one, number 5, the analytic method. Another reaction to the Hegelian system building philosophy is the analytic approach initiated by philosophers at Cambridge University, England, George Edward Moore, Bertrand Russell, and Ludwig Wittgenstein. The task of analytic approach is not to create another system of ideas to counter the Hegelian system, but to clarify how philosophers use words through an analysis of language. To find truth using this method, you're going to analyze language in the way actual people use it in ordinary situations and not to construct an ideal language based on logic and mathematics like what Russell seems to be doing. To analyze language, we have to realize that it follows rules. If there are rules in every aspect of life, there are certainly rules on how we put together and communicate words. Wittgenstein believed that these rules are like the rules of games, which is the language games. For example, the usage of words like demand, supply, money, price in the context of economics differ from its usage in everyday life. These are technical words and they follow certain rules within that discipline that affects the way these words are used. You can apply analytical thinking in just about every situation, such as developing or improving programs or products, relational issues, processes, identifying audience and client needs, and more. This method can be usually used by TV producer, businessman, and advertising agency to answer and analyze their client needs. Now, for your activity, you're going to fill in the table that follows with the main proponents of methods of philosophizing. For each method, answer the question, how can you find truth using this method? And or what real-life situation can you apply this method? This is the table where you are going to fill in the main proponents of each method. How can you find the truth using each of these methods? And the last part, you're going to think on what real-life situation can you apply each of these methods. For your performance test, you're going to do this activity entitled Win an Argument. You're going to use the graphic organizer of dialectic method and you're going to answer the question, how do you criticize someone's opinion? Argument in a way that makes sense and is respectful. Try to talk to interview two persons that have contrasting idea about the question. Then write your own sentences to their answers. This is just an easy task. All you have to do is you're going to write down in the thesis part of the graphic organizer the argument or the idea of a person which is he or he agrees on central topic you have chosen, while in antithesis you're going to write the disagree or opposing side of the person on the topic, while in the synthesis you're going to make your own conclusion. You're going to resolve the conflict by creating a new idea comprised of the essentials of both the thesis and the antithesis. To have a guide in this test, we have these rubrics. We have 4 criteria. First, relevance of idea in thesis, anti, and synthesis clearly presented in very informative and organized manner, 40%. Virtually no spelling, punctuation, or grammatical errors, 30%. Graphics and visual clearly presented, 20%. And overall presentation, neat and clean, 10%. Overall, 100%. Learners, remember this. Dear children, let us not love with words or speech, but with actions and in truth. From 1 John chapter 3, verse 18. Thank you and God bless us all.